Am I the bad guy for leaving my boyfriend's house in the middle of the night after he locked the bathroom? A few days ago, something happened that I'm still struggling to process. It's one of those situations that makes you question if you're losing your mind or if, in fact, the other person's behavior simply doesn't align with what you consider normal. My boyfriend, whom we'll call Diego, and I have been dating for about 6 months. Things have generally been good, not perfect, but nothing that made me think there were serious red flags. Until that night. It was a Saturday night. I was staying at his apartment as I had many times before. We watched a movie, ordered food, chatted for a while. Nothing out of the ordinary. But around 11 p.m., I felt the need to go to the bathroom. I got up, half asleep like anyone would, and went straight to the bathroom door. I tried to open it and it was locked. I thought maybe Diego was inside. Although I remembered leaving him on the couch, I went back to the living room. Sure enough, there he was watching a video on his phone with headphones on. I asked him naturally, "Is the bathroom occupied?" And he, without even looking at me, said, "No, it's locked because it's after 10. I don't let anyone use the bathroom after that time. It's a boundary I have." First, I thought it was a joke. I waited for him to let out a laugh, a smile, something to indicate he wasn't serious, but he just looked at me as if it were the most logical thing in the world. I laughed uncomfortably and said, "Okay, but seriously, can you open it? I need to go." And he seriously repeated, "I don't let anyone use the bathroom after 10 p.m. It's my space. It's a rule I have in my house." I was in shock. I asked him if he was being serious. Not only was he, but he began to explain that, according to him, using the bathroom at night creates humidity, and he doesn't like the energy that lingers in the air. That since I was in his house, I should respect his boundaries. That if I have such a hard time holding it, it's because I have a dependency on body control that I should work on. In that moment, I felt humiliated. We weren't talking about putting feet on the table or smoking inside the apartment. We were talking about a basic human need. And still, he insisted on his "my rules, my space" speech. I got up, grabbed my things without making a scene, and calmly told him that I didn't feel comfortable staying, that I'd rather go home. I live 15 minutes away, it wasn't a problem. He looked at me without moving from the couch, as if I were the one overreacting, as if he hadn't just denied an adult person the use of a bathroom because of an absurd rule. That same night, from my own bed, I received a message from him. It said that he found it disrespectful for me to leave that way, that I should have talked to him, that he doesn't know if he can trust someone who runs away from a conflict instead of facing it with maturity. I didn't reply. I didn't even know what to say. The next day I spoke with my sister, and she told me I did the right thing, that it's not a rule, it's absurd control, and I should be grateful I saw it now. But a friend made me doubt myself. She told me that maybe I overreacted, that it was his house, his rule, and I could have just held it and talked about it the next day. That leaving in the middle of the night was too much. I can't stop thinking about it. Who the hell locks their own bathroom so no one can use it after a certain hour? And more importantly, how do you deny it to your partner? Am I crazy for feeling uncomfortable for leaving? I don't know if I overreacted, but I know that night I felt treated like an intruder, not like a person you're supposed to be sharing something with. Update 1. 3 days passed since that night. During that time, Diego sent me several messages. None of them were apologies. Quite the opposite. He kept insisting that my reaction was immature, that I couldn't expect a relationship to work if I wasn't willing to respect others' boundaries. I ignored him. I needed space to understand what had happened. But on the 4th day, he called me. Not with a "hello, can we talk?" but with a blunt, "Are you going to keep avoiding an adult conversation?" I hesitated to answer, but in the end I agreed to meet. Part of me wanted to get closure. Maybe he would say it was a misunderstanding, that it was all an exaggeration. I was wrong. We met at a coffee shop. From the moment I saw him, I knew he didn't come with the intention to talk, but to convince. He sat across from me with a rehearsed confidence. He looked at me as if I were a capricious child, and from the first minute, he began what I now understand was manipulation. He told me he had felt attacked by my decision to leave, that I made him feel insecure in his own home, that the fact I wouldn't accept his boundary reminded him of past situations where women had crossed his emotional borders, that my reaction was a reflection of my lack of commitment to conscious relational processes. Yes, he used those exact words. I looked at him in silence for a while because for a moment, I admit, he made me doubt myself. He started talking to me as if I were the abuser. He would say things like, "You don't know what it means to live with anxiety about invaded spaces," or "My therapist says that someone who doesn't respect others' domestic boundaries isn't ready for real intimacy." And when I told him that a basic physical need is not a personal attack, he laughed. He mocked me. He said, "The thing is, you come from a permissive upbringing. You don't know what self-control is. It's not about the bathroom. It's about your resistance to structure." I had to take a deep breath to not get up and walk out right then and there. I asked him with all the calm I could muster, "Do you really expect someone to sleep over at your house, knowing they can't use the bathroom if they have an emergency?" And he replied seriously, "People who love me learn to flow with my energy. It's not that hard." In that moment, I understood that I wasn't in front of someone who wanted to reconcile, but someone who wanted me to bend to his will, to accept an absurd logic just to validate his control. And the worst part is that he said it all with that soft, slow voice, as if he were the sensible one and I were the impulsive one. I looked at him and said, "No, I don't have to flow with any energy that makes me uncomfortable. I don't have to put up with rules that negate my needs. I'm not here to be molded by anyone." He fell silent. He looked at me as if he couldn't believe it hadn't worked, as if he wasn't used to someone telling him no. He simply said, "Well, I'm sorry you don't measure up." I got up, told him I hoped he would one day seriously work on that, and left. He didn't yell, he didn't hold me back, but I felt his gaze fixed on my back. That night I cried. Not for him, but for myself. Because I almost let myself be convinced that what I felt that night was an exaggeration, when in reality, it was my intuition saving me. I don't know if this has happened to anyone else, but if they make you feel like your basic boundaries are a sign of disrespect, get out of there. Don't be quiet, and definitely don't stay. Update 2. For a week after that meeting at the coffee shop, I heard nothing from Diego. I felt relieved. I thought he had gotten the message that he would finally leave it all behind. I started to get back into my routine, focus on work, talk with my friends about other things, and not check my phone every 5 minutes. But then the small gestures began. First, it was a short text message. "Hope you're well." I ignored it. 2 days later, another. "I know you don't want to talk, but I dreamed about you last night. We were at peace." It felt good. I didn't reply, but something in my chest tightened. Not because I missed him, but because of the feeling that something wasn't right. And then the casual encounters started. One Thursday, I left work and saw him parked across from the building's entrance. He didn't roll down the window, he didn't call me, he was just there, looking at his phone. I froze, crossed the street, and went another way. 2 hours later, I received a message. "I didn't know you got out at that time. What a coincidence. You looked good." The following week, I got a notification on Instagram. Diego had created a new account and had followed me. His old one, as I knew, had been deactivated for months. The bio read, "Flowing, healing, learning from the pain." The posts were photos of places we had been together, but with captions about silent betrayals and people who aren't ready for conscious love. A couple of friends who still followed him told me he was starting to post stories with sad songs, indirect hints about failed relationships due to ego, and selfies with red eyes accompanied by phrases like, "I wasn't perfect, but I was real." I blocked the new account, but the knot in my stomach didn't disappear. Something in me knew this wasn't simple nostalgia. There was a veiled intention in all of it. It wasn't that he missed me. It was that he couldn't accept having lost control. The last straw was one night when I came home and found a small box in front of my door. It had no return address. Inside was a bottle of essential oil, the one we used to use in his diffuser, and a handwritten note, "For when you open up again." This scent calms judgment. That same day, I changed the lock on my apartment. I didn't tell anyone for days. I was ashamed because nothing he was doing was openly aggressive. He wasn't insulting me, he wasn't physically stalking me. He was just appearing, leaving traces, creating the feeling that he was nearby watching. And he did it so subtly that I almost felt paranoid for being uncomfortable. But I wasn't imagining it. I knew how Diego operated. I knew how he disguised control as sensitivity, how he used the language of personal growth to justify everything he did. All under a false image of calm, of healing, of being a conscious man. I blocked him from everywhere. I asked a friend to check if he was still posting things about me. And although the frequency decreased, he didn't disappear completely. Every now and then, another new account, another message from a hidden number. Another coincidence on the street. I'm thinking about going to talk to someone. Not because I'm afraid he'll physically harm me, but because I've started to doubt my own perception of reality. And that's what scares me the most, that he has affected me so much that even the subtle things make me tremble. Update 3. I went weeks without hearing anything more from Diego. After blocking him completely, I even changed my number. I made sure my social media was private. I started therapy not because I thought I was broken, but because I needed someone to help me untangle the mental knot that had formed after so many emotional microaggressions. And slowly I started to come back to myself. Until a week ago. He wrote to me from an email address I had never seen before. The subject line read, "Just hear me out one last time." In the body of the message, he wrote that he wouldn't insist anymore, but that he needed to talk to me, that he felt incomplete since I left, that he had lost everything emotionally, that he deserved at least the right to express himself face to face. My first reaction was to ignore it, but something in me, I don't know if it was anger, the need for closure, or simply the desire to look at him knowing he no longer had power over me, led me to reply. I told him that if he wanted to talk, we would do it in a public place in broad daylight, and that it would be the last time I would see him. We met in a park. He arrived with the same attitude as always. Calm, gentle, with that false expression of vulnerability he managed so well. He sat across from me as if nothing serious had happened, as if we had only had an unresolved difference. He told me I looked good, that he missed our conversations, that he had been reading personal growth books, that he now understood many things, that maybe he was a bit strict with his rules, but that I had also been very emotional. I listened in silence. I didn't interrupt him. I just observed how he tried to soften the edges of what he had done, as if denying me the use of the bathroom, manipulating me with phrases disguised as wisdom, stalking me with accidental gestures, and making me doubt my sanity were simple misunderstandings. When he finished his monologue, I looked at him with a calm I didn't even know I had. I told him, "You didn't want a partner. You wanted a figurehead to conform to your rules disguised as healing. It wasn't that you set boundaries. It was that you imposed barriers to have control. It wasn't that you dreamed of me. It was that you couldn't stand not having access to me. And it wasn't love what you did when you sought me out again and again. It was harassment." He looked at me without saying anything. I saw him swallow hard. He tensed up, but he didn't speak. Not because he didn't want to defend himself, but because he knew he couldn't. I continued, "I'm not here because I want to get back with you, or because I owe you a conversation. I'm here because I deserve to look you in the eye and tell you that you don't confuse me anymore. You don't make me feel guilty. You don't make me feel scared. You don't owe me any explanations, and I have nothing to give you. You are not the center of my story. Not anymore." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I didn't think you were so harsh." I smiled. Not because the phrase flattered me. I smiled because I understood that was what hurt him the most, that he no longer had access to my vulnerability. I got up and left without drama, without tears, without the need to look back again. That was the last time I saw him. He has been silent ever since. I don't know if it's because he finally understood, or because he has already found someone else to project his game onto. But I'm not there anymore. I no longer live in doubt. I no longer apologize for setting boundaries that protect my dignity. And if anyone reads this and recognizes themselves in my story, I'll tell you something I wish someone had told me sooner. Subtle abuse is still abuse. What doesn't leave visible marks but breaks you on the inside also counts. You don't need everything to explode to run away. It's enough to feel small, confused, uncomfortable. To leave. Don't wait any longer. Run and then find yourself again. Final note from narrator. Since that last conversation in the park, she never spoke of him again. She didn't mention him, didn't look for him, didn't post new updates. She simply disappeared from his story. Not because she was afraid, but because she understood that she no longer owed him anything. Her silence wasn't submission, it was freedom. She had said everything she needed to say. And most importantly, she had said it when she was finally ready to stop justifying herself. He, for his part, vanished like anything that cannot withstand the truth. And if he tried to come back, she never knew. She was no longer looking back. And so this story ended not with a big scandal but with something much more powerful. A woman who learned to listen to herself, to respect herself, and to leave in time. If you want more real stories like this, intense, human, and with healing endings, don't forget to subscribe. Sometimes, we just need to hear a story similar to ours to never be silent again.